thank you for the opportunity of being here today. I have to admit to you that I'm not happy to be here. I'm sure you're not happy to be here either, but I suppose it's for different reasons, right? Perhaps. Okay, do you believe in climate change? This is not a rhetorical question. I just really want to have you raise your hands real quick if you believe climate change. I'm asking you as board members.
And I apologize, this is not interactive, we're here just to
Oh,
listen so that we
okay,
can.
I must have missed that message.
So that we can, and I may not have mentioned that today, but our time here today is to allow you and everyone who is here to speak, we will listen and take it
Sure,
in.
I understand that. Well, I hope you do. If you've done your due diligence and you've kept up on your reading, you know that the earth is warming quickly. The glaciers are melting, the oceans are rising, and the 10 hottest days since weather people have been documenting daily temperatures have been within the last 10 years. Our forests are being clear-cut, fish and animals are distressed and dying. We have 8 billion people on the planet to feed. And the threat of an expanded war in Ukraine and potential conflict with China, all coupled together makes our task of holding global temperatures down to 1.5 degrees for our children and grandchildren, it makes it seem like this is a desperate enterprise. Because if we don't succeed in stopping carbon emissions and stopping them quickly, we face a climate catastrophe that could take tens of thousands of years to heal. With inadequate action, by 2050, we'll have more plastic in the oceans than fish. The coral reefs will be essentially gone. Animal extinctions will rise dramatically. And in Ohio alone, 2022 was the 6th warmest year since 1850. And if you were born after February of 1985, you have never experienced a cooler than average month for the planet. Where did I get some of those statistics? From an Ohio climatologist. Methane makes up 30% of all global carbon emissions, and much of that comes from coal, oil, and coal, gas, and oil industries. Methane is a byproduct of fracking, and wells often leak or flare. I don't need to tell you about the methane gas leak in Belmont County, where a fracking well exploded in 2018. That leak at Powhatan Point on the Ohio River exploded and spewed methane gas into the air at the rate of 120 million tons per hour for nearly 20 days. American and Dutch scientists, which spotted the leak, or who spotted the leak by satellite, agreed that Powhatan was likely the largest methane leak in U.S. history. The amount of methane released into the air was more than the entire countries of France, Norway, and the Netherlands combined in a year. What has Ohio state government done since then to prevent accidents like this in the future? What plans does the oil and gas industry in Ohio here have to prevent or clean up or even compensate victims when these future accidents occur? The fracking process creates ethane, which is used in many products, including plastics, paints, solvents, and adhesives. The new Monica plant that just went online directly across the river, the Ohio River, will bring us the pollution and cancer that the people of Louisiana's Cancer Valley have endured for 30 years. And that is a fact. It's coming. I recommend that you watch the 2022 The Power of Big Oil 3-part series by Frontline if you need any specifics. While fracking is pretty much unregulated right now, stricter rules or laws, including regarding chemicals, are coming. Just last week, I believe it was April 6th, the EPA announced new rules to limit emissions from chemical and plastic plants. The document itself is 444 pages long, so I imagine it's going to take a while for those new rules to flow through the figurative pipeline. So amid the craziness of an HB 507, there are some glimmers of hope. In my mind, this means that oil and gas is going to be regulated at federal level, chemicals. What I really want to express to you today is that Ohio is not ready for the health and environmental disasters that await us if more fracking occurs in state parks and public lands. Ohio did not have a strategic disaster plan for the East Palestine toxic chemical accident, did it? No. Does Ohio DNR, or Ohio State Government, have a disaster plan for HB 507 fallout? I don't think it does. How can the state have created an effective, efficient, and workable plan for the oil and gas industry accidents that are likely to occur when this law was introduced? And when this 507 law was introduced, passed, and signed by Governor Mike DeWine within the space of a month during Christmas holiday, the East Palestine cleanup was very obviously reactive and not proactive. And that cleanup is not over yet. So we really need proactive disaster planning when fracking is involved. Because you know there will be fracking accidents, there will be methane leaks and city water and groundwater contamination from fracking chemicals and wastewater brine from fracked wells. Why do we know this? Because people make mistakes, because accidents happen, because corporations will cut corners when they can. Just a few days ago in Torch, Ohio, PFAS were reported in a waste injection site there. Since the ingredients of fracking fluid and wastewater brine are not yet required to be publicly disclosed, the Torch contamination cannot be called an accident. The Athens Independent reported that the brine was transported from 8 fracking sites in western Pennsylvania that are known to use PFAS. That discovery was made after an injection well test. Fracked well methane leaks from abandoned orphan wells, and the chemicals and underground injection storage sites associated with fracking poison our water, pollute our air, and contaminate our soils. Who will realistically want to live in Ohio after big oil is finished here? Just ask yourself. Not to mention the betrayal that Ohioans feel that our beloved state parks, these are parks we support with our tax money, will be handed over to oil companies to frack, to pollute, to poison, just to generate about $1 billion a year so a few state legislators can partially fund their dubious 4% tax, state income tax. Ohio needs to decide which side it's on in this climate conversation. And your decision on allowing fracking in state parks and public lands will help determine our public stance. The Ohio GOP can't have development both ways. Jobs Ohio can entice more Intels to invest in Ohio and build microchips that help us run EVs. Jobs Ohio can encourage the Hondas to expand and manufacture electric cars and batteries here. Those are great. But Ohio cannot simultaneously allow fracking in Ohio state parks and public lands. Those two strands of development and investment are diametrically opposed to each other, and they undercut each other's missions. You can either be green or you're not green. Despite what HB 507 erroneously acclaims, natural gas is definitely not green. If you had to give it a color, I think you could call it black. Finally, excuse me, does Ohio want to continue to have a $46 billion tourist industry? Does it want to continue to attract hunters and anglers, birders, campers, hikers, kayakers, canoers? Does Ohio think it's supporting the agricultural industry when 29,000 tons of soil, and I'm assuming that this includes topsoil, is contaminated in East Palestine and slated to be removed and store it underground somewhere else? Because what are we going to replace this topsoil with exactly? I'm not aware that you can grow food on plastic turf or clay or rock. Finally, think about this. How many people will be willing to move to East Palestine over the next few years in the wake of this toxic chemical explosion and spill? How many people are going to be willing to open small businesses there over the next 5 years? Maybe over the next 10 years. So I urge you, do not approve fracking leases in Ohio, state parks and public lands, at all. The state of Ohio and the people of Ohio are woefully unprepared for the ecological and health disasters that are likely to occur. What you recommend regarding this leasing will determine the health, the quality of life, and the future of everyone in the state. Thank you.